Sussex Police Emergency.
I'm calling to turn myself in.
Okay, what's your name?
Pietro Addis.
So when you say you're going to hand yourself in, what do you think you've done?
There's been a murder.
Okay. And where's that happened?
One Tudor's Gardens.
Okay. And who's been murdered?
My grandma.
When a wealthy grandmother invites her troubled grandson to live with her in her £1 million Brighton home, she hopes a fresh start will heal old wounds. A respected businesswoman with a reputation for resilience, she does everything in her power to set him on the right path. But beneath the surface, something far darker begins to stir. What follows is a chilling descent into manipulation, paranoia, and violence, ending in a night the seaside city will never forget. A night when her own flesh and blood turned on her and stabbed her 17 times. It was late 2020 when Pietro Addis, a troubled 17-year-old with a diagnosis of ADHD, began spiraling. Once manageable, his condition took a darker turn as he started abusing his prescription medication. His once energetic personality gave way to paranoia, anxiety, and erratic behavior. His father, Leo, noticed the shift almost immediately. He sat Pietro down more than once, asking him what was wrong, but Pietro had no real answers. Behind closed doors, Pietro confided in a doctor, admitting he felt increasingly paranoid and anxious. The only thing that helped, he claimed, was the very medication prescribed to treat his condition. But Leo saw things differently. To him, the pills were the problem, not the solution. Desperate to save his son, he began flushing the medication down the toilet, acts that only enraged Pietro further. But it wasn't just the ADHD meds. Pietro had also started consuming cannabis, cocaine, and ketamine, often mixed with antidepressants. His descent into self-destruction was fast and chaotic. He became volatile, unpredictable. He even began selling his clothes and other possessions, anything to fund his growing addiction. By the time Christmas arrived, Leo and his partner had reached breaking point. They could no longer cope with the boy who once called their house a home. They told him he had to leave. Following the string of heated arguments regarding medication, Pietro's father turned to the one person he believed might still be able to reach him, Pietro's grandmother, Sue Addis. Without hesitation, Sue welcomed her grandson into her home. To Brighton, Sue Addis was more than just a grandmother. She was a beloved figure in the community. The successful owner of two iconic Italian restaurants, Donatello and Pinocchio, her establishments weren't just local favorites. They drew celebrities, politicians, and tourists alike. Warm, generous, and deeply respected, Sue had built her legacy on hard work, compassion, and family. She adored Pietro. After the death of his mother, when he was just 6 years old, she stepped in. She had always tried to steer him in the right direction, even giving him a job at her restaurants to help him find structure and purpose. But Pietro began to exploit her kindness. He came and went as he pleased, showing up for shifts only when it suited him. Still, Sue remained patient, hopeful that with time and care, he'd find his footing again. But behind Pietro's silence and distant eyes, something was beginning to fester. Something even his devoted grandmother couldn't see coming. Just days after Christmas, Pietro packed a small bag of essentials and left his father's house behind, moving into the comfort of his grandmother's £1 million home. Sue Addis, ever the optimist and unwavering in her love, had a plan. She wasn't going to sit by and watch her grandson unravel. She was going to fix this. Wasting no time, Sue reached out to the psychologist who had originally diagnosed Pietro with ADHD back in 2018. Her message was clear and urgent. He's suffering from paranoia, and we are all getting annoyed with him rather than helping. He still says he can't do anything without his ADHD drug, but with the weed as well, he has become impossible to reason with. He just wants to sit in his room all day, and it's an effort to get him to do anything. Sue was desperate, torn between frustration and compassion. But what she didn't know was that time was running out, and the boy she was trying so hard to save was growing increasingly dangerous. In the early hours of the morning, he would silently creep through the darkened halls of his grandmother's home. On more than one occasion, he stood outside Sue's bedroom door, knocking gently, then repeating over and over, "I love you." It seemed like he was up to something rather than showing genuine love. Sue was quietly battling breast cancer at the time. She had been prescribed medication to manage her symptoms. Before long, Pietro began stealing her pills, consuming them in secret, adding them to the toxic mix already inside his body. He had only been living with her for a few nights, but in that short span of time, the atmosphere in the house had shifted entirely. What had once been a sanctuary was quickly becoming a space charged with unease. Sue tried to keep hope alive, but things got worse day by day, and now there was no turning back. Sue knew time was running out. After returning home from work one evening, her heart heavy with worry, she sat down at her computer and began searching, desperately, for help. She looked into private hospitals specializing in addiction and mental health, places that might finally reach the part of Pietro no one else could. But those would be the last searches she would ever make. Unbeknownst to her, Pietro had begun collecting knives from around the house. 3 in total. 1 he tucked inside his jacket. The other 2 he kept close, as if waiting for a moment only he could sense approaching. Something had triggered him. But what? Was it a mental health crisis spiraling out of control? The chemical storm of drugs and stolen medication coursing through his body? Was he hearing voices, battling unseen forces? Or was this simply a boy consumed by rejection, seeking revenge against the family that had given up on him? Perhaps Sue had told him that night about the residential mental health facility she'd been researching. Maybe those words, meant to help, were what pushed him over the edge. We may never know, but what followed was nothing short of horrifying. Roughly 2 hours after Sue made those final, desperate internet searches, she ran herself a bath, seeking peace perhaps, or simply a moment to rest. She was completely unclothed, vulnerable, and unaware of the danger that lurked just outside the bathroom door. Then Pietro struck. Bursting into the bathroom with 2 knives in hand, he unleashed a sudden, savage attack. Sue had no chance to defend herself. He stabbed her 17 times in total. One wound to her chest was so forceful, it cut through the full thickness of her left rib. 4 of the wounds were, on their own, potentially fatal. It was a brutal, frenzied assault, and it ended the life of a woman loved by many, at the hands of the boy she'd tried so hard to save.
Sussex Police Emergency.
I'm calling to turn myself in.
Okay, what's your name?
Pietro Addis.
Okay. How do I spell your name?
Pietro.
Perfect. And your surname?
Addis.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay. And where are you at the moment?
1 Caesar's Gardens.
1 Caesar's Gardens, is that? Okay. Do you have a postcode for that?
Hello?
Hello, I just need to get some more information from you. What town is that in?
Brighton.
Gotcha. And that's Cedars Gardens, yeah? Okay. Okay, and so when you say you're going to hand yourself in, what is it that you've done? Hello? Hello, you there? Okay, Pietro, what's your date of birth? We'll work with that.
March 30th, 2003.
Okay. Give me a few moments. So when you say you're going to hand yourself in, what do you think you've done?
There's been a murder.
Okay. And where's that happened?
1 Caesar's Gardens.
Okay. And who's been murdered?
My grandma.
Okay. Give me 2 moments. Where is she at the moment?
In the bath.
Okay. What happened? That's okay. If you don't want to talk, that's okay. Is there anyone else in the house?
Just me.
Okay. How do you know that she's dead? Okay, that's alright, Pietro. You just answer what you can, okay? How long ago did this happen?
20 minutes.
Okay, give me 2 minutes. Boys, can you call me an ambulance on a hurry up, please? Okay, just getting all these details in. How did you do it, Pietro? You just stay where you are, okay? Pietro, how did this happen?
No comment.
Okay. Right, Pietro, what I want you to do is I just want you to wait where you are. Okay, what room are you in at the moment?
Downstairs.
Okay. Where is the bathroom? Is it upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Okay. Right, okay. So, Pietro, what I want you to do is I just want you to stay downstairs where you are, okay? You're going to have some police officers come. We're also going to get some ambulance there, okay? When you say your nan's dead, how certain are you of that?
100%.
Okay. What makes you think that? Right, okay. Pietro, you just wait there then. I don't think there's anything else I need to ask you at this time, okay? But I'm going to keep you on the line. Have you told anyone else that this has happened?
No.
Is the front door open? Is it unlocked?
It's locked.
Okay. Would you be able to go and unlock it for me?
Or not unlock the door.
One of Okay, what's happening? Okay, at this moment, I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder, okay? Wait 2 seconds.
You do not have to say.
Where is your nan?
In the bath.
Where?
In the bath.
Shall room in
Bathroom, here.
Upstairs.
Upstairs. Is anyone else in the house?
You take him.
Yep.
Keep on.
It's just you in the house. And it's Pietro. What's your surname?
Addis.
Addis. Okay. Upstairs.
Where's the weapon?
It was a knife.
Where is
It's
it
a
now?
knife.
Is it on your person?
Possibly.
Where, mate?
He hasn't been searched.
Where is it?
Either in my pocket or in the bucket.
Pietro. Is it in the property?
Yes.
Where in the property? In the bathroom or the kitchen? And was it just one knife? Pietro.
An hour.
An hour? Has anyone else been in the house? No, just you and your nan. Is she taking your medication? Do we need to take that with you? What medication is it?
L1s? What's that for?
ADHD.
ADHD.
Do you
Okay.
suffer with any medical conditions that we need to look after you?
Just
I
you.
broke my hand.
When? Now?
Earlier?
Which hand?
Touching the wall.
Which hand is it?
This one.
Your right one.
This one. Whereabouts do you think you've hurt it? We can get the nurse in custody to have a look at that. Okay? Do you have any mental health conditions we need to be aware of? Apart from the you said ADHD.
Anything else? Pietro, where do you normally live?
For the other house.
Your other house? Is it nearby?
You have 3 rights when you get to custody, okay? You have the right to let someone know, notify that you've been arrested, okay? You have the right to free and legal independent advice, okay? So a solicitor, which can either be, if you have one in mind, if you know one, or a duty solicitor to be contacted to come and speak to you, okay, and then represent you if you so wish. Then you have the right to read the codes of practice, okay, which is a long rule book about what we can and can't do whilst you're in custody with us, okay? It's boring, not going to lie to you. but it will pass in time, okay?
You might have to have what we call an appropriate adult interview because you're under 18. So that can
Can I
be...
get my medication?
You want your medication?
Of course you can.
Yeah. Come on, that's fine. Nice and calm. There's going to be lots of people out there, a lot of stuff going on. After you, mate.
Thank you. Okay, okay.
Pietro was swiftly taken into police custody and transferred to a secure hospital facility. Back at the home, officers arrived to a chilling scene. Sue's lifeless body was found submerged in a bath of blood-stained water. A knife lay beneath her. Another, larger knife rested beside the tub, and a third was recovered from the pocket of Pietro's jacket. At the secure hospital, Pietro claimed he had been hearing voices. He spoke of paranoia, delusions, and a loss of control, but the psychiatric team assessing him wasn't convinced. There was no evidence of a thought disorder, no signs of psychosis or delusional thinking. One psychiatrist described his behavior as calculated, not confused. He noted that Pietro had been calm and collected when he dialed 999 to report what he had done. The psychiatrist's conclusion was stark. Pietro was exaggerating. He showed no signs of ADHD, no psychosis, no obsessions. And when asked about his supposed fear of his grandmother, his answers were vague and unconvincing. Shockingly, even in custody, Pietro continued abusing drugs. While on remand at the hospital, he tested positive for cocaine. When confronted by staff, he tried to claim the white powder was flour. In court, Pietro appeared remorseful. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter, and despite expert testimony pointing away from a genuine psychotic break, the court accepted that he had suffered a psychotic episode at the time of the killing. He was sentenced to 15 years in total, 10 years to be served in custody, followed by release on license for the remainder of his sentence, plus an additional 5 years under supervision. This tragic case is a stark reminder of how fragile the line between love and despair can be. Behind closed doors, even the strongest bonds can unravel under the weight of mental illness, addiction, and misunderstood pain. Sue Addis's story is one of heartbreak. A grandmother's love tested to its breaking point, and a family forever changed by a single devastating night.